lose to
opt out if you want comment on it.
We've gotten hit, other people haven't. We never got a drop.
And I didn't think it was going to do anything yesterday.
No.
All of a sudden,
That's why they call it Mother Nature, because of Father Nature. She has control.
You're right, Doug.
Yeah, Debbie left her keys. I left my keys in here, but they were still in here talking.
Sudie's.
So I caught the door just. She was locked out.
Good evening. Pastor Justin, could you please give the invocation?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Would you please pray with me? Our God, Creator and Lord of all, Lord, we praise and thank you for your power and wisdom, your mercy and grace that you extend to all people. We thank you for your gifts, for life and health, for community, for human government. We thank you for calling and appointing public servants and other leaders in our community. Lord, we thank you for each and every one of those public service that we can't name one by one tonight, but we know who they are, and we're grateful for each one of these that you've called to serve us here in Freeport. I ask that you give to our leaders wisdom and strength, but Lord, also character, that they might live and work with integrity. Pray that you'd give them mercy and grace to acknowledge their faults and to seek your help in their weaknesses. Lord, we look for your help tonight for the work of this city council. May everyone here see their need to call upon you for help, for wisdom. May all hearts be inclined to seek the understanding that you so freely give. Please give to them understanding and ability to make the kinds of decisions that would bring about a true self-giving love of neighbor in our community, a love that puts the interests of others first. Pray that they might have the ability to seek the prosperity and safety of this community and its people. So, Lord, grant to us, we pray, the grace to clearly see all that these gifts come from you alone. And so we ask them from you in the name of Christ, the Savior. Amen.
Thank you. Now we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller.
Here.
Alderpersons Clem.
Here.
Monroe.
Here.
Simmons is absent. Parker.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Shadle.
Here.
Sanders.
Here.
And Sellers.
And if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Clem. All right, item number 1 is approval of the agenda. However, we're removing items 12 and 17. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Sellers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 2 is approval from the minutes from the regular meeting on June 3rd, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Sellers, seconded by Alderman Shadle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next is public comments. Cliff, if you would like to go to the podium, we'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name's Cliff Walewski, and I'm the owner of Heritage Aero. My company and my name have been topics of discussion here lately. As I have not met most of you, I figured it was time to introduce myself and also welcome you to come out and see our business, meet my employees, and find out what Heritage Aero does and why we need space. A brief history. Heritage Aero was started by myself in 2004. We have been in business for 20 years now. We have 5 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees working at the Albertus Airport. We provide aircraft maintenance services and consulting to private aircraft owners and operators. We also specialize in an aircraft called Warbird aircraft. These are former military aircraft that were from mainly World War II to the Vietnam era. These aircraft are owned by private owners and museums and are often seen at air shows and displays all over the country and world. Many of them are large and require larger storage hangars to keep them safe from the weather and elements such as snow, ice, thunderstorms, and especially hail. Our business is expanding in this market, and thus we are looking for larger hangar options and also to lease or build. We work on approximately 100 aircraft per year. The majority come to Albertus from other cities and states. In addition, we work and consult on aircraft at other locations all around the country and the world. We started discussing moving our operation to Albertus Airport in the fall of 2018. I originally contacted the airport manager, Daryl Jansen, who has now passed. He was a man who I truly respected and miss. He was very positive about us coming to Freeport and bringing business into the airport and the community. Subsequently, back then, I met with the mayor, city manager, city finance directors, city members, and the council. We expressed interest in the O hangars, which were generating little to no income for a number of years. At the time, I believe the city had them listed for $475 a month. The city government worked up a 10-year commercial lease agreement for Heritage Aero to lease the O hangars and also M9, starting January 1st, 2019. We moved our business here, and that was expensive. We bought a house in Freeport and moved our family of 5 here. We live, eat, drink, and pay taxes here in Freeport. We are all in with Freeport. We made a good faith promise to the city that we would bring in business and investment, not only for us, but also for the airport and the community as a whole. Many times our customers stay in Freeport. They rent hotel rooms in Freeport. They eat at restaurants in Freeport. They rent cars in Freeport. They purchase auto fuel in Freeport. They buy aircraft fuel at Freeport. Basically, they spend their dollars and tourist dollars in Freeport and the surrounding area. Some have also expressed interest in investing in Freeport. I believe in helping making things better and have offered help and suggestions to the airport manager. The airport should be looked at as an asset, not an expense. In closing, there have been misstatements and misunderstandings about me and my business. I am disappointed that the vast majority of the council members have not come out to visit, call, or, as far as I know, make any other effort to meet any of me or my employees. This is an open invitation to you all. To visit Heritage Aero, please come out for a visit. Our door's always open. We are proud of our business, and we would like to show you what we do. Thank you. That was a lot. I just fit it in 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be routine in nature and acted as one motion unless a member of the council would like to have something removed for further discussion. Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of approval to receive and place on file the minutes from the Foreign Fire Insurance Board dated April 11th, 2024. Also is the fire, police, and building permit reports from May 2024. Lauterbach and Amon report for fiscal year 2023 for police and fire pension board actuarial valuation report, and the Gatsby 6768 for both police and firefighters pension fund report, as well as the Gatsby 7475 for post-retirement health plan, and the Freeport Housing Authority monthly report dated May 15th, 2024. Also is the approval from the finance bills payable in the total of $2,424,392.58, and payroll for pay period ending June 1st, 2024, in the total of $637,682.74, and finance and cash and investment reports for April 2024. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Clem. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
And Sellers.
Aye.
Oh, and I'm sorry, the motion passes 7-0.
And item number 5 is a presentation for the auditor's report for fiscal year 2023, presented by Don Shaw. Welcome, Don.
All right. Thank you for having me. First, I'd like to thank Michelle and the entire team for all their help in making this another successful audit year. Without their help, this would not be possible, so thank you. Next, I can go through the annual financial report with you, which is the thicker of the packets you received. And if you turn to page 1, you'll find our Lauterbach and name and letterhead. This is our independent audit report in which we provide a clean, unmodified opinion. It's the highest opinion you can receive. Basically states that we found no issues with internal controls or the numbers as they're presented. The next section would be the management discussion and analysis, which begins on page 7. And the management discussion and analysis really provides a summary of how the year performed in narrative form. So if you have questions on fluctuations from year to year, what the numbers truly mean, this is where you want to go to find those answers. I always say if you're only going to read one thing, I highly recommend reading this section. Your individual fund financial statements will begin on page 24. And it starts off with your balance sheet. Towards the bottom on the far right hand, you'll notice that the total ending fund balance for the city as a whole was at $41 million. 68% or $28.2 million is related to your general fund, which is your main operating fund. To see how this fund performed in the current year, we can skip ahead to what will be your income statement, which is on page 26. About halfway through the page, you'll notice that the general fund had an operating increase of $8.4 million. This is primarily due to your revenues coming in higher than anticipated and your expenditures being below budget in the current year. This was offset by transfers out to your debt service, capital projects, and grant funds. And the purpose of these transfers is the fact that the city does not levy for these costs. So instead of levying with property tax money, you're able to use other revenue streams to make payments on your principal and interest. So it's a really good thing that you're not having to increase your property tax levy for those. So your general fund is left with a $3.4 million net increase in the current year. One other item I did want to point out to you is on page 29. On page 29, you'll notice that the landfill closure had a net position deficit of $4.8 million. We have provided a management letter comment for this so that you can look into building that fund balance up in the future years. The notes to the financial statements will begin on page 34. And the notes really provide further detail into how we came up with the figures that we did with supporting schedules. Within there, you're going to find your long-term debt and your capital asset schedules. I'm not going to go through the notes with you tonight, so I'll have you skip ahead all the way to page 101. Page 101 is the start of your budgetary information. So if you want to see how a specific fund performed based on what was budgeted, this is where you want to go to see those comparisons. Does anyone have any questions on the financial statements?
I just have
Yeah.
one I'd like to ask. On page 10, when it says unrestricted deficit, and then it says negative, what does that mean?
Is that on page 10?
Yes.
So this is looking at your government-wide financials. What you can do is if you go to page 20 and 21, so with government funds, it's called modified accrual. So the government-wide financials is showing all of your long-term liabilities. So you'll notice you have on page 21 your net pension for police and fire, as well as your OPEB, as well as your long-term general obligation bonds. So this is all of your future payments that are come due, but it's not on the day-to-day operations side. So your day-to-day operations, you would want to focus on your individual funds.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep. Any other questions? Yep.
Alderman Monroe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this only documents and basically audits anything that's in our financial records, is that correct?
Correct. So as of December 31st, 2023.
Okay. Follow up? Sure. Awesome. So what differs between this type of audit and forgive me for a second, a deeper audit that would uncover things that were a forensic audit per se?
So our job isn't to find fraud. That's not really our job. Obviously, if things come up, then we would have to raise the flag and discuss it. We do perform internal control testing that would help with making sure that you have proper segregation of duties. So that is part of our audit, is making sure that you have strong segregation of duties and strong controls over internal controls. But as far as a separate forensic audit, that would be completely separate, and it would be a separate engagement for that. That you would look for specific items in that case.
Follow up, Madam Mayor. So I guess the question is, so this, what's the biggest advantage of having this type of audit?
So this type of audit is required by state statute. So you would have to have this performed on an annual basis. But a forensic audit is very, it's only on a as needed basis. We don't come across those as often.
So this type of audit, as I went back through the years, and I've seen multiple instances of misuse of funds, things along those lines, disappearing funds. This never catches that type of activity.
It would, yes, it does. We do look at all the activity for the year, and we trace those to third-party source documents to ensure the accuracy.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle.
Alderman Monroe, can I ask you what evidence of fraud you know of? Because I don't know of any.
I'm not, Madam Mayor, to respond, not accusing anybody of it. I'm just wondering what the process is and to make sure that we're able to track every dollar in and out. There's been concerns, we've uncovered some leases that were not documented and managed properly. And, those are the types of things that we would want to catch, kind of moving forward. And I think it's a big problem because, the documentation going back into the past, there's a lot of concerns that things weren't documented in the past. And I just want to make sure that we're continuing to improve upon the processes and ensure that, we are accounting for every penny that comes in.
So speaking on leases specifically, we do look at all the different leases. There's a GASB 87 that came out. So we do review all the agreements and make sure that they are being accounted for properly.
I've got a follow-up to that then. So can you show me where the airport land leases might be in this, where it would be documented?
So those airport leases, we have, it's basically a tracker that goes through yes or no questions to determine if we have to implement for GASB 87. So likely, I don't have the financials right in front of me, the actual line item, but it's more than likely in your operating revenues for the airport.
Alderman Monroe, there is on page 101, there is a line that says farm leases, and it actually came in higher than the budget. Alderman Sanders?
Yeah, could you also explain to us where you're getting your inflow data from and how you're generating it, and then how are you processing it?
Sorry, can you repeat which line item?
Yes. Who are the people, or what entity that's assessing our day-to-day activity, inflow, outflow? How do you come up with the data to generate an annual report with the numbers that you're showing? How is that done? How do you go through the process of generating this type of data?
Yeah, so the financial statements are provided to us at the audit, day one, and then our job,
Can I ask you what department that is?
finance.
Finance, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what we do is we go through and we provide confirmations. So we send out letters to third parties that then tell us what their balance is on their end and agree to those to the trial balance, to the figures. So going along with that, we look at cash receipts and we look at invoices and payroll as well. So everything that we test is from a third-party source that is outside of the city. So it's the state government, property taxes, or counties.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Stacy?
Yes. So, the airport farm lease. There's just been a lot going on with the airport. We were told that there should be 7 farmers lease. However, there's only 2 that are paying. And I was informed that they're over 10 years outdated. So how could you rightfully budget?
Without having the details in front of me, I can't honestly say what farm leases or what airport leases are active or inactive. I don't have that detail with me in front of me, but I would be happy to discuss with Michelle and provide details.
Follow up? With the totals that were given, did you have them in front of you then?
Yes, we reviewed all the leases that reached our threshold for testing.
The ones that existed?
Yes.
And so if they didn't exist, you had nothing to,
Well, if they didn't exist, you wouldn't have cash receipt money coming in. So if it was an active lease, you'd be getting revenue included. So we would be testing those from the revenue sources. And then we also review the agreements as well to verify those cash receipts.
Alderman Sanders?
Yes, also, in comparison from one year to the next year of the annual report, are they generating information from past data to help give some clarity on what the outcome is for the next fiscal year?
So the comparisons, we don't include comparison from last year to this year in our audit report. It is included in the management discussion analysis. So if you want to see, fluctuations from what was last year to what is this year, that's the information you would find. But for future projections, that's not really our job. Our job is to audit the financials as of December 31st.
Okay.
So projections would have to come from finance.
Finance, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve to receive and place on file the audit report.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Sellers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you. Move on to item number 6, which is the second reading of ordinance 2024-27. Could you please read this?
Ordinance authorizing Comcast franchise agreement.
Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff brought the new franchise agreement before council at the first reading. This is just continuing on the franchise agreement with Comcast for the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio LLC. Staff worked with Comcast as well as with Attorney Zito to work through details of a new 10-year agreement out, and staff recommends moving forward with the new Comcast agreement.
Thank you. Any further questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
No.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
No.
And Sellers.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 5-2.
Thank you. Item number 7 is second reading of ordinance 2024-32. Could you please read this?
Ordinance of the City of Freeport to provide public transportation.
Thank you, Director Duckman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a second reading of an ordinance for the City of Freeport to provide public transportation to the City of Freeport and Stevenson County. And nothing has changed since the first reading, and as stated prior, that this is a requirement for our two State of Illinois grant funds which support the Pretzel City Area Transit. And essentially this is part of the requirements from the state for us to receive said funding. And staff recommends approval of this ordinance.
Any further questions on this, Council? Alderman Stacy.
Is this like for a period of so many years or?
So with these two state grants that we have, every year our staff is working on making sure that the requirements are made. And the short answer is this is an annual, every year we have to do this.
Yearly?
Every year, yes, we will be doing this process.
If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
And Sellers.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-0.
Item number 8 is the second reading of ordinance 2024-28. Could you please read this?
Ordinance authorizing a lease with Heritage Aero for Hangar J at Albertus Airport.
Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, moving this forward, Heritage Aero requested leasing J Hangar for the term of 4 months. That would get us through August. We brought it up at the first meeting in June. We discussed it at the Committee of the Whole, and this is second reading, so staff recommends moving forward with the lease agreement for Hangar J with Heritage.
Alderman Stacy.
I just want to make sure I understand that this is a 4-month lease, starting at May and ending at August,
That's correct.
even though the council didn't receive it till June.
That is correct.
Alderman Sanders.
The lease for Heritage, is it active or non-active?
Currently, Heritage is in J Hangar, and staff is requesting council approve this lease.
What staff, sir, can I ask? What staff are you referring to?
Myself.
Oh, okay. All right. And while I'm on this subject, have we covered all bases for any lease that I've been presented with? Have we done an assessment to these leases to determine whether everybody is in good standing to the City of Freeport? Have we considered that? Have we had a chance to do a reevaluation on the discussions that we had before us on previous council meetings? Have we had that yet? Or is that pending before any decisions are made to move forward with the leasing of that hangar? Before we do that, we need to make sure that we had done a clear evaluation, because wasn't happy when I received that lease. I was not happy at all, and it was not prepared nor fully documented in writing or anything of that nature that gives us conclusion that everything was above board with this hangar. So we need to be able to revisit any parts of our conversation in regards to the subject of the lease. And I think our priority to continue would be one of the things that we should continue to look at, and then go forward. I don't feel comfortable going forward as it is right now today, and we should look at that a little bit further.
You realize this is just for J Hangar?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Alderman Monroe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, I guess as I look through some of these documents, you know, I've got real concerns about how, you know, we're managing the airport, without having the city taxes on services and fuel and such at the airport. Some of these statements that were made and some of these emails and texts really don't sit well with me. And, you know, I know this is all related, but we're essentially giving a double discount to a business that comes in out there if we lower the rental price from what we really should be getting for that size of a hangar. I asked over a month ago now for a price per square foot or similar pricing, and I've yet to receive that from the city manager or staff. And overall, I think these should be very simple things to come forward with. How are we priced compared to Rockford, to Monroe, to Dubuque, to other airports around us? But for whatever reason, staff has been very, very reluctant to assist in solving very simple things. And you know, as I sit and read through this, there's a couple of things that really stick out. I think Alderman Sanders makes a good point about when they got in there. They actually were in there in April. You know, there's all kinds of statements in this about I've got airplanes parked outside. I've got, you know, this and that, and hey, let's make a deal. Those types of things really are challenging for me to sit here and say, I can support something when it seems like things are not being done above the board. And, you know, if we can't get pricing, how are we ever going to fix the lease situation or the rental situation at the airport if we can't even get basic information from staff? And it's very, very concerning that now we've got right here how many pages of an annual report, and we still don't even have clarity on the property leases. So I will ask again, why can't we get this information? Why can't management pull it together and do something simple? That's all we're asking for. And we're going to push this through come hell or high water, and that's basically how the city thinks it's going to work. And some people seem to be okay with that, but, you know, I can't believe the citizens are okay with it. And I really have to start to wonder how many thousands of dollars are being left on the table every single month. And we're raising our prices 1%, another, you know, tax hike. And we've gotten all these things coming in, and we're not even applying the taxes equally across all of the city properties. Those are concerns. And this comes back to this lease. We've got to do things above board, above table, and we've got to do them honorably, and we've got to do them with the information that will give us the pricing and tell us, you know, we don't need to give a double discount. And lowering the rental rate and also lowering the tax rate is doing exactly that.
I don't understand double discount.
So if you don't have to pay a sales tax, that's a benefit of coming in and renting there. If you don't have to pay the full rate for the rental of the unit, that's also a discount. How is that fair to any other business in the city of Freeport that we're not going to charge the applicable taxes that we've all voted on in this room, or somebody before us that sat in these chairs voted on, and we're not applying them at the airport? It's the county sales tax is it. It's like 6.75%. Meanwhile, I'm paying how much on my gas tax? These are the types of things, it's got to be consistent. And these are the types of things that if they're being worked on backroom deals, which when I go through this information that was forwarded to me, and I see let's make a deal. And I start digging into this further, and I start finding all these other things going on out there. That's where my problem is. It's like we're helping his business out multiple ways. The least that we can get is either get the taxes on or a fair rental rate on the property. You know, we shouldn't have to deal with both.
Alderman Sanders.
Yeah, in addition to what Brother Monroe is talking about, there's not been a formal discussion on whether or not Hangar J is in a position for the leaser or the lessor to even comply with this lease. We're not even in a position to right now be talking about something that is not supposed to be existing at this current time. And if we're extending certain privileges to anybody out there at Alberta's airport, it shouldn't be to a lease that has not been signed or authorized by council to move forward with whatever the cost is. We shouldn't even be discussing this. This is a matter that needs to be completed. The ink is not even on the line or signatures or whatever the case is not in the lease. So who are we leasing to? We can't just be claiming leasing to anyone until they have a signed document, and we do not have a signed document at this current time. So to be honest with you, we shouldn't even be talking about this until all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. We have not fulfilled our prospective duty, and we need to be, this should come down to another reconstruction of that ordinance that includes everyone, where everything is consistent. This is not what's happening, and we should be able to pause on this until we get all the consideration that is necessary to even move forward. And right now, just talking about it, we shouldn't be having no understanding or, conversation in regards to this lease that has not materialized any signatures. And that's something that I have a problem with.
Alderman Stacy.
Alderman Monroe, Alderman Sanders, I totally understand where you're coming from. I too have a lot of questions. However, bottom line, they're in there. They're in there and they've been in there. So woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's not what we can look at right now. But I do have a question for you, City Manager Boyer. Is there a current lease?
Currently,
I don't see one.
So let me just mention a few things. Up until recently, April, leases such as this were simply executed either by the airport manager or the city manager. Okay. It came to light recently that we need to bring all leases before council. So when we're in the gray area between that transition, we have a lease that was requested by Heritage Aero so that they could operate at the Albertus airport and have areas there to park airplanes in. That's all this is. And this lease expires in August, and they have been paying on time. And as we move forward, we will make sure that we have all the leases brought to council. However, this one was in the works prior to the understanding that all leases had to come before council, not just commercial leases.
Alderman Clem.
I-
Sorry, go ahead.
I understand that. But is there a physical lease? Yes, Attorney Zito.
So the lease that's that's for consideration with you guys is the proposed lease that is waiting for you guys' vote on there. So this is, the lease memorializes the terms that were discussed and agreed to whenever they were discussed and agreed to. This lease is the documentation of those terms that's before you guys for second reading right now. So it's part of your guys' packet there. So that is the lease that if you guys approve it, then that will authorize the city manager to sign it, and then Heritage Arrow can sign it, and then that would, Alderman Sanders, then that would be the signed lease. So you got, this is your opportunity to vote to approve it or not.
Yeah, but the cart is
You don't have
before the
floor.
horse.
You don't have the floor.
Well, he's talking, he
Yeah, but
mentioned my name.
you don't have the floor.
But I can.
Well,
you're-
he's talking, he mentioned my name.
You don't have the floor.
Well, when do I get the floor?
When I acknowledge you, you don't have it, he has it.
But I think I can answer his question, though, there, that, yes, Alderman Sanders, you're right. In this particular situation, because leases prior to April, they weren't always brought to council. Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. It was a kind of a hodgepodge, rightly, wrongly. That's just what happened in the past. And so then right around April, May is when I told them that, hey, my legal opinion is that all leases need to come before council there. So that's what they're trying to do now. So yes, in this particular case, the cart got before the horse. There were a couple of leases. I think there's another one on later on the agenda that's kind of the same thing. So we're kind of doing this to try to clean it up a little bit and then establish a process that's uniform, go forward, so that all future leases, renewals, whatever it is, come back before you guys. But yeah, right now we're in a little gray area that yeah, it's a little bit cart before the horse.
Yeah, and that's such, I'm sorry.
Actually, you're going to have to wait because there were two other hands up before
See,
you.
that's what I was trying to tell you.
But your hand was not
No,
up before
that's
theirs.
what I was trying to tell
Alderman
you.
Clem?
Call a question.
Okay, so we need a second for call the question. Is there a second?
I can't believe you're doing this.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Shadle to call the question. That means discussion ends. All you're doing is voting on whether or not we call the question. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
No.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Abstain.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
No.
Sellers.
Aye.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, 2 against, and 1 abstention. The motion passes.
No, you would.
Oh,
you
is
have
that
four.
a two-thirds?
No, you have 4 votes right now, so you would need, but you have half the council voting in favor of a particular item, so you can call the mayor's vote.
You would like the mayor's vote as well? Okay, I apologize. Mayor, what say you?
I would say this has been discussed for many, many times, so I say aye.
The vote is 5 to 2 to 1.
So because the vote to call the question is approved, now on the main motion, you would just move to a vote on the main motion of the second reading, voting on the second reading.
We do have a first and a second. Just, okay. Just a vote? Okay, thank you. So go ahead. Okay. Clem?
Aye.
Monroe?
No.
Parker?
Aye.
Stacy?
Abstain.
Shadle?
Aye.
Sanders?
No.
Sellers?
Aye.
And Mayor, I assume? Yes?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same. 5 to 2 to 1. The ordinance passes.
Item number 9 is the first reading of ordinance 2024-34. Could you please read this?
Ordinance authorizing a lease with Timothy Garden for Hangar M10 at Albertus Airport.
Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tim Garden is interested in renting Hangar M10. The monthly amount is $165 per month, and staff recommends moving this forward to the next council meeting for approval.
Is there a motion to move this
So
forward?
moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Clem. Discussion, Alderman Monroe.
Thank you, Your Honor. Looking at this is already signed, so, once again, here's another example of inconsistency from point to point across this agenda. and I'll say the same thing. We don't know what the rates are for this size hangar. We don't know anything about it. We've not positioned any of this. And here we go willy-nilly again by the seat of our pants, saying this is the rate. So I'm
Okay. Dovey, did you need to interject on something?
These rates are set by council. I can get the ordinance. It's been emailed to you at least once.
in 2010.
Yes. 2021, yeah.
I'll open them up.
It's more recently.
Darren?
I'd just like to provide a little clarification from, I believe it was the June 3rd meeting, and I apologize it wasn't at the last meeting, so I didn't hear that discussion. At the June 3rd meeting, we discussed that there are issues at the airport, fully acknowledged them, and we discussed and asked for about a 6-month opportunity here to dig into the problems, figure what they are, and make resolutions to each one of the issues. We know that the leases are inconsistent. We know the land leases are inconsistent at best, but it's not something that we can resolve overnight. We're committed to fixing it as a staff and group, but we need time to do this. These short-term leases, if you will, would get us to the end of the year, which Attorney Zito and staff communication is working on a new lease for all of the hangars out there that would be consistent for everyone across the board. To James' question, he did ask for square footage and rate evaluations, which the airport manager just provided maybe a week and a half ago the calculations for each one of the hangars. I personally made some calls to try to get rates by square foot. I was really unsuccessful to do it. I didn't make a great attempt. I called a couple different local airports, and I couldn't get a square foot rate out of them. And I was going to say what Dovey said right now. The rates are willy-nilly at best, but they are done by the 2021 ordinance that's posted on the Alberta Airport site. That's where the rates were derived, and those were approved by council. I do think that the airport manager has adjusted some of those rates over time, but honestly, I haven't been able to see every one of the documents. There's hundreds of emails flying around about getting the airport to a consistent basis. But what we're asking is a chance to be able to do that. It's a big undertaking, and it's not going to happen overnight. The problem didn't start overnight, so it's not going to be fixed overnight. So we appreciate you guys hearing that subject matter, because it is going to take, it's a very big undertaking.
Alderman Stacy?
So why wait till next week? Why don't we just waive it like we do everything else that we want to happen now? Or do I need to say take a vote? Just put a stop to all the discussion, just take a vote. That we settle this right here and now. I make a motion, we take a vote and settle it. That's what we just did on J. Am I correct?
Go ahead. Not really.
Yes, really.
Go ahead.
So the difference between the prior agenda is for second read. So all ordinances go through first and second read, right? So we were at second read. So then there was a motion to call the question, and calling the question means you move straight to a vote. That call the question vote was approved, so that's why we went straight to a vote. Now, on this particular item, because we're at first read, it was moved and seconded at first reading to move it forward for second. If you wanted to, you could make a motion to waive first reading. If there's a second that's approved by 2/3 of the vote, then we've done this before in the past, right, where there's a request to waive first reading, then you could suspend the
Yes,
rules.
suspension of
Yeah,
the
so if you wanted to, you could make that motion to suspend the rules, and then we would move straight to second reading, any further discussion, and then a vote at second reading, if that motion to suspend was approved. So you can make that motion.
Alderman Sellers?
I'm confused. I guess I'm trying to figure out, I know that we're doing the first reading for this, this contract, and it was in April, correct? Is this was done in April? Okay, so if we're just now bringing these ordinances in and these leases in so that we can clean up the mess that we have, why wouldn't we not grandfather this one in, being in April, and do our cleanup and get everything decent and in order and on one accord, than to go in and not let this company or this man have this lease? And when is it, when does it end? How long does this lease last?
It's a month to month.
It's a month to month. Okay, so in that lease, so it's just month to month. So by the time we get our documents all together and an understanding of what we have in leases, who's all out there, how much square footage, all of that kind of stuff, which they said it's gonna take some time to do, because it's not where it just happened. And I just wanna ask Alderman Monroe, if it was done in 2021, you voted on it, correct? I'm just asking, because I'm just trying to get some clarification on, I know you said you didn't see it, but they're saying it's 2021. I mean, until that we get, this is the last one coming through, correct? Until we can get it all under control, there'll be no more leases until we can get it under control. Okay.
Okay, so I want to go back to Alderman Stacy. Were you making a motion? I didn't want to overlook what you were saying.
Yes, I did.
And your motion is?
That we waive the first reading?
Suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules.
So we have a
Suspend the
motion on
rules.
the floor to suspend the rules on ordinance 2024-34. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, could you please take
Is
the...
there discussion?
No,
I
there's
just
no
want to ask
discussion.
why. Huh?
There's no discussion on
okay.
suspension of the rules. It must pass by 2/3 majority.
Oh, okay.
Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Clem. Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Call the
So number
question.
3 is the final passage of the ordinance. Is there just any further discussion on this ordinance?
Call the question.
Okay, so you have a motion to call the question. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Parker. Take the vote on calling the question only.
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
No.
Simmons. Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
No.
And Sellers.
Aye.
And that motion passes 5-2.
Okay, so now call the question. Now it's up for the vote.
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
And Sellers.
Aye.
And the ordinance passes 7-0.
All right, item number 10 is the first reading of ordinance 2024-35. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending section 1060.04 of the codified ordinance to freeze residential garbage pickup rate for 1 year at the July 1, 2023 amount.
Is this for Director Richter or Manager Ware? Director Richter?
Thank you, Your Honor. A little background on the subject. The city's health and environment fund accounts for the revenues and expenses related to garbage collection and recycling programs within the city limits. Revenues from residents are deposited to the fund, and the expense for garbage pickup is paid monthly to the hauler. As this fund is considered an enterprise fund, it is run like a business with fees coming in to cover expenses. City Ordinance 1060.04 details the amount charged to residents per month for garbage and recycling pickup. Per this ordinance, the rate for garbage pickup that customers pay will increase from $21.83 to $24.33 on July 1st of this year. The Health and Environment Fund is currently accruing a positive fund balance as of December 31st, that balance being $1.2 million. The rate charged to the city by the haulers will increase on August 1st up to $22.33 this year. If the city maintains the current rate of what we're charging of $21.83 until this time next year, the estimated additional cost to the city would be $57,600. The Health and Environmental Fund has sufficient resources to absorb this cost and ensures there's adequate funds remaining. The strategic plan alignment is responsive, efficient government, and the request by staff is for council to approve this revised ordinance, effectively leaving the rate unchanged and to extend the current garbage rate of $21.83 per month through next year, through June of next year. Staff's also asking to suspend the rules to make this ordinance effective prior to 7/1, so I would not have to implement the ordinance that's on the books right now.
Is there a motion to move this forward?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Sellers, seconded by Alderman Shadle,
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
and we have a motion made by Alderman Monroe, seconded by Alderman Parker for suspension of the rules. Again, suspension of the rules is non-debatable. Must pass by 2/3 majority. Madam Clerk, could you please take the vote on the suspension only?
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
And Sellers.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so now before you, second reading, is there any questions? Alderman Clem?
Yeah, I just have one question. Could somebody tell me why we pay $20-some a month when Lena pays $13 and some cents a month and gets a senior citizen discount? That was in the Village Voices. Just a question.
And take
Director
a
Rick-
little bit of that I can help with. So the garbage rates were negotiated back in 2019. And at that time, I think is when we moved to the toters, which was kind of the wave of the future. Unfortunately, I think a lot of communities are seeing the toters kind of take over. The only information I can give you is that I did call a few other communities to find out what they're paying. The Belvedere is at, as of June of this year, Belvedere is at $25.35. Rockford's at $24.96. Peoria's 25 even. The interesting part on that one is that they put it on the property tax bill. Found that interesting. And Champagne's at 27 even, $27 a month. I'm sorry, I didn't get Dixon and Sterling, and I know those would be the most comparable. But I guess that's all the information I have.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
There's no further discussion? Alderman Sanders?
Yeah, is that per month residential increase? Is that what that?
No, that's not an increase. That's just the per month that is on each bill. It's not an increase. It's what it is per month.
Okay, you say per month, but it has two different points. There's a raise of increase, is what we're discussing at this
No, it's to not increase.
Oh,
According to
okay.
ordinance, we were at 2183, and by ordinance, we were supposed to go up to 2433.
That's
and
what
this
I'm
is an
talking
ordinance
about.
to not do the increase.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Okay. All right, thank you.
If there's no further questions, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
And Sellers.
Aye.
And the ordinance passes 7-0.
Item number 11 is the adoption of Resolution 2024-68. Could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing intergovernmental agreement between the City of Freeport and the Emergency Telephone System Board, or ETSB, of Stevenson County for the purchase of personnel and supervisory services and for the use of facilities.
Thank you. Chief Davis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the background, the ETSB was created in Stevenson County on November 7th, 1989, for the purpose of imposing a monthly surcharge on billed subscribers of telephone carriers to install and maintain a 911 system. The Stevenson County ETSB currently consists of 9 individuals. The Freeport Police Department Public Safety Answering Point Representative, or PSAP representative, the Stevenson County Sheriff's Office PSAP representative, 2 public safety members, one from the Freeport Fire Department and one from the Stevenson County Emergency Management Agency, or EMA, 4 public members and 1 Stevenson County board member. The ETSB employs a 911 coordinator who manages the FPD and Stevenson County Sheriff's Office 911 systems and equipment. The ETSB serves the roughly 43,000 residents of Stevenson County. Every phone bill has a surcharge that is allocated to the area ETSB to fund and maintain the 911 system. In November of 2000, the city entered into an IGA with the ETSB, which automatically renewed annually. In that IGA, the ETSB surcharge was set at $1.23. The then sitting board decided that 40% of the collected surcharges would be distributed to the FPD and SCSO PSAPs to cover allowable expenditures as defined in the Emergency Telephone System Act, or the ETSA. The ETSB calculated FPD would receive 74% of that amount based on FPD handling 74% of the 911 calls for service in Stevenson County. The amount of money that was allocated to FPD was calculated at $70,000 per year. Recently, staff recognized the need to renew the IGA with the ETSB that had been in place for the past 24 years. This required the 911 coordinator to reconfigure the distribution amount based on the surcharge increase per phone line to $1.50, less state of Illinois fees and vendor costs, and a change in the percentage of calls for service handled by FPD. The ETSB collected a total of $880,000 in surcharges in 2023. The ETSB determined that 30% of the collected surcharges would be distributed to the FPD and SCSO PSAPs. This number was decided upon to allow a sufficient amount of funds to remain with the ETSB to cover overall operating expenses and the potential purchase of a new report management system. The percentage of Stevenson County 911 calls being handled by the FPD was calculated at 67%, and the new amount of money to be allocated to FPD was calculated at $176,880 per year. This money can only be used to cover operational expenses such as PSAP operating costs, equipment costs, costs associated with computer-aided dispatch or CAD equipment, personnel costs, and training. Funding, there is no funding, and the strategic plan alignment is that it's responsive and efficient government.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Sellers, seconded by Alderman Clem. Discussion, Alderman Monroe.
Deputy Chief, one of the challenging things with the ETSB and the way the 911 system operates, there's so many different 911 operators that you can get. Sometimes you need the state police, sometimes you need the sheriff's department, sometimes you need the Freeport PD, and those transfers often take long periods of time because you have to re-give information. Has there been any thought given to combining the 911 dispatch center into a single entity?
I know there has been in the past. There are no talks like that as of right now.
Follow up. Oh, sorry.
The only reason Don and I looked at each other's lap and laughed is both of us went through this whole scenario years ago, went downstate, did the whole thing. Don's done it for years. There was all kinds of meetings, and when it got to the bottom line, the sheriff said, no. That was it. End of conversation. Would it have saved money? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Would it have been able to design a new center and do a bunch of stuff? Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody can kind of understand as you cross jurisdictions, time is lives, and a lot of times. And I'm very concerned as a public official and as a citizen that that time does cost lives. And when we talk about, the fire department's always saying, the faster we get there, the better off the results. The police department, the same thing. But when you call and you get the wrong 911 dispatch center, that puts people's lives, property, and selves at risk. And I ran into this weekend driving home. I was behind a very drunk driver. I went from DeKalb County to State Police District 1 or 2, District 1, back over to Ogle County in a span of like 5 minutes. And it's, you know, you're trying to get somebody out there, and this person's literally about to kill somebody on the highway. And, you know, it's just something that popped into my head. This was just happened to be on the agenda, and I thought I would ask the question. I know it's not easy because there's all these personalities and the people that want to control their empire, but it's something that I think is worth revisiting and at least discussing.
Alderman Parker.
Well, just from the past experience, if somebody calls 911 and it's for the county, but the city answers it, they push a button in the radio. It takes less than seconds to do it. If it's a state police call, they automatically call the county or the city, and then they send an officer while they're getting the state police there. So we're talking seconds, and if I'm wrong, correct it, that before, if you get in the wrong, if you call 911, you want the county, city dispatchers can get it to the county within seconds. Correct?
Alderman Sellers.
I just want to say that I do have to agree with Alderman Monroe with the confusion of the 911 because my sister was having, I thought was a heart attack. So I'm freaking out, and the young lady calls 911, and they don't know where we are, don't know nothing, and we're giving out the address and we're giving out the information. We did it 3 times, and they didn't even know where we were. And so that was my concern with that. And I thought that if you call 911, you went to Freeport, but it was somewhere else. And it took some time before we got it straight, got her under control, and was able to have the ambulance come. So it is a concern, and it wasn't a matter of seconds. They took us through, and this just happened, I'm gonna say April, April or March or April, and it was really a scary moment for me. So I do have to agree that it wasn't a matter of seconds. So.
Just,
Alderman Parker.
I'm sorry about that, because normally once they put the address into the computer, it tells you what jurisdiction you're in.
Yep, they took us round and round.
And you were here in Freeport?
Yes. Yes.
If that happens again, contact the city, the chief, deputy chief, and they can look in, because everything's recorded.
Okay.
And they can look in and see what
I hope it don't happen
Yeah,
again.
me
but
too.
yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, but yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for the adoption of this intergovernmental agreement. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Clem.
Aye.
Monroe.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
And then just as a point of clarification, with item number 12, it was just for, obviously you can see that the airport manager's not here, even though she was tasked to come to talk, give more report, but she's obviously not here, but we will hear from the other department heads. So we will move on to finance.
Will this be carried over?
Will what be carried over?
Last week, she was supposed to come, she wasn't put on the agenda. This week, she's supposed to come, she's not here.
Yeah, she had an emergency.
Will she be put on at the next meeting?
I don't know why
automatically?
not.
Okay.
You want to, Debbie, you want to make note of that?
I already have it on the outline. It should be there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, finance, did you say?
And nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Community development?
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Public works?
Sure, you got a handful of things. I'd like to thank again the city street department for a great job done on the storm cleanup. It has got some of our street projects behind for the season. The guys spent a good full 2 weeks cleaning up debris around the city. And I think they did a great job, and we should congratulate them. A lot of hard work and a lot of extra hours put in to get the cleanup done quickly. Pearl City Road should open the end of the day tomorrow. The final restoration stuff was done today, and the city has some trees we're taking down, and as soon as that's complete, the barricade should be pulled. Adams Avenue, we're completing the south leg of utilities. I think it'll be probably another week before we reach the end of that, and then they'll be coming back and starting at Float and working water main down towards Main Street. So that leg will start to open. So we're starting to make some ground there. We still have storm improvements to do in the large south section, but those are not near as deep, so they should go faster. Another item to note is tomorrow at 1 o'clock is the wastewater treatment plant groundbreaking. The contractor will be having the groundbreaking there, and the council and news crews have been invited to come. Tomorrow also kicks off the 2024 street program within the city. The projects are starting at Quail Ridge, Sioux Drive, and Yellowstone, and then we'll move around to the rest of the streets, but that was a good place to start the program. Fisher's moved equipment in today, and we're actually going to even start a little bit of paving over by Shawnee tomorrow. One other item to note is I submitted for a program with ComEd, and we received 108 free trees to the city that we plan to try to get some volunteer help to plant. They are small trees, but with as many trees as we lost between the storms and the demo programs over the last few years, we thought this was a good opportunity to try to catch up on our tree goals. And so we're trying to negotiate with the Boys and Girls Club and a local group of arborists to help with these plantings and volunteer efforts with the city.
Thank you. Communication? No? Fire?
Nothing this week.
Thank you. Police?
Nothing from the police department.
Thank you. Library?
Excuse me. On June 6th, Secretary of State and State Librarian Alexi Janulius announced that his office is awarding $2 million in new grants to assist public libraries in underserved communities with needed technology enhancements. I'm happy to announce that our library is receiving $27,500. We will be replacing all of our staff in public access computers. This grant money gives our library the ability to complete a replacement project in 3 to 6 months. A project like this normally takes us 8 to 10 years to complete.
Well done. IT? Thank you. City Manager?
Just one thing. I just want to congratulate the staff of the Finance Department for a job well done on this 2023 audit. Thank you.
And actually, I would like to echo that by just reading a sentence that was in a letter that was sent to me from Lauterbach and Amon, and it says, "We commend the Finance Department for the well-prepared audit package, and we appreciate the courtesy and assistance given to us by the entire staff." So thank you. Alderman Clem.
Kudos to the street crews on the cleanup, and congratulations to the police department on the bust you guys made last week. Thank you for taking some more firearms off the street, and you guys really been working hard, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Alderman Monroe.
I believe we've got an update on Greenfield being done. That section by Alamo, is that complete?
I don't believe it's complete. I think we're going to be paving it here in the next week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting very close. We just ran out of time last week to get it paved.
Awesome, thank you.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were
No, you're okay. No updates on our neighborhood watch meeting this next week. So I'll pass one out if we get it, and then go from there. But that's it.
Alderman Parker.
Yes, we'll have neighborhood watch next Monday night. The other is I want to congratulate the PD, and they're working, sounds like they're getting real close to getting up to manpower strength. And I think this is a great job. Thank you.
Alderman Stacy.
On behalf of 3rd Ward Alderwoman, I just found this out today, that there will be a third ward cleanup Thursday, June 6th, which is the 20th. There will be a 1 p.m. walk route and a 5 p.m. carpooling route. Garbage bags and gloves provided. Wear sturdy shoes, and refreshments will be served. And this is on behalf of the Pretzel City Pickers, Boys and Girls Club, 3rd Ward Alderwoman Rachel Simmons, County Board District B, Ronnie Bush and Samuel Newton.
Thank you.
That's this coming Thursday, starting at the Boys and Girls Club, 1 o'clock.
Alderman Shadle?
Nothing tonight.
Alderman Sellers?
I also want to say thank you to the police department for getting the guns off the street, but I was just wondering, I know at one time we had those doorbell things, and I was just wondering if there were more out there for homes to get, because I know it helped on the one on Empire Street. So just wondering if we can get people to get more of those so we can, cut down on crime or make your job easy.
Sure. Right now, I don't think we have any, but certainly it has been a successful program, and we'll try and continue that as we go along. So,
Actually, that's Robbie Capps that's something that she had pulled together and given Robbie Capps. She was a mother of one of the young men that were murdered. And so she's been working very hard. She's the one that actually hands over many cameras to the police department for them to be able to. So anytime someone wants to donate to that, she's buying them as many as people donate. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that leaves us with public comment. Tommy?
I want to tell Darren Davis he does a good job in that police department.
thanks, Tommy.
And Jody Miller, thank you for that cake from my.
You're welcome.
I want to know about the Holiday Inn tearing down.
That'd be a question for Wayne.
Well, Tommy, I don't think there's going to be anybody staying at the Holiday Inn for a while, but fortunately, it's probably going to be coming down soon.
And Don Parker, you did a good job speaking.
Thank you, Tommy.
Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
A motion made by Alderman Sellers, seconded by Alderman Shadle. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.